So I know just a tiny bit about the anti-doping WADA sports thing, but here's my question because I'm curious. Is that group or groups intended to protect human health or to protect economic opportunity? In other words, if they vanish tomorrow, would it kill anybody?
Well, since Oliver's dad was the very involved founder of the UCLA doping lab, very involved with WADA. You want to feel that, or you want me to?
I think it's an interesting question overall. I mean, anti-doping today is under attack in many ways to try to figure out how to operate it properly. Does it have a place in sport? Absolutely. I mean, many of the drugs we're talking about do legitimate harm if you take them. That's one of the conditions to get them listed. Some of the other folks, as far as, parts per billion amounts and some of the stuff that we deal with on a regular basis in our world, that may not have the adverse effects to consumers, but it certainly can, to the athletes. So WADA absolutely has a place, but, as part of the current discussion, they're trying to figure out how to get more appropriate voices and experts to think about what's right and how to manage the interests in the athletes. In the equation, obviously we do it at the end of the day to protect the athletes, so what they want and the kind of protections that they feel they deserve should rightfully lead the way in many ways, but certainly has a place. It's just a difficult realm to manage in a number of arenas.
First of all, Rick, I appreciate your Australian accent. It's actually one of the better ones I've
Really?
attempted.
I think anybody Australian would just crucify me, but okay, good. Thank you.
My question is for Josh. In regards to millennial marketing and promotion, one thing I see very common among the new brands doing well, such as Ghost, for example, is the owner of the company is on videos. Even yourself, Josh, I looked up your name. First thing that came up, YouTube, video, almost daily. And this is the same for Instagram influencers in fashion and pretty much any brand. What would your suggestion be where it's a legacy brand or a company where the owner isn't suitable or isn't an extrovert in trying to market and connect with consumers who want to buy into the brand, where really they're also buying into the person and the face, because it can be very risky to, or even ingenuous, to hire someone as a face of the brand. That can go bad in many, many different ways. So what would you suggest as alternatives where the owner isn't the face of the brand?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard question to answer because, I mean, it's definitely a trend that's happening. I definitely agree with you. I think that personal brands, the power of personal branding and just social capital and everything that's happening today, it's becoming more and more important to make sure that you have a voice out in the market or you risk other people having the voice for you. With working with kind of legacy clients and if you, sports nutrition brands, if you point to some of the biggest ones, I would imagine some of you guys would not be able to, know who the CEO of some of those brands are, or even the CEOs of major conglomerate consumer packaged goods companies. What they've kind of went to is reinforcing the brand story and not necessarily worrying about the personal brand. It's more of how do we get the brand story out there and making sure that consumers understand what the brand's about. I think legacy brands are kind of in a tough role though, because for so long they've had to try to be everything to everyone, and now they ultimately are kind of not reaching anybody because they don't have a hard line on who they are. So you kind of have to take a look inside and figure out what is your brand about and make sure you're kind of doubling down on that brand. I would say that everybody can be that person out there. I'm an introverted person. I started doing this. This is uncomfortable for me. It's just a matter of getting started and kind of starting it and doing it. But it is unnatural for a lot of times. So if you do have, a partner or somebody that is a little bit more out there, it's easier to kind of put that on them. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Can I add something in there for a second? What I see, especially on Amazon, is more thematic kind of brands, where it's not centered around a celebrity or a person or telling a story about how I got from here to there, but more about, what about the brand? Maybe it's for kids, maybe it's for women, maybe it's, it's focused on, organic only. I mean, I'll give you an example. Arguably, Dan and Ghost are probably the best lifestyle brand in the last 5 years, without any doubt, coming up, yeah, without a doubt. But obviously, he's built really well. He can probably represent the brand, does represent the brand really well, and he speaks really well. I'm 50 years old and fat. I could never do that. So I would have to find another alternative. I'm just being honest, okay? I would have to find an alternative. So I would have to either hire somebody, I'd have to hire somebody to stand in for me, or find some kind of theme to build around it, okay? Or some kind of cause or something like that. And if you look on Amazon, especially off the sports nutrition thing and more on the general health, especially in the keto realm, you're going to see a whole ton of people that are building it around a theme rather than a story or a person.
And if I could just jump in there, and thank you again for that. But the goal of, like, for example, the content program and Ghost YouTube channel specifically is to show the growth of a company. Let's just zoom out, 30,000 foot view, nothing to do with this industry, okay? To show the growth of a company really from an idea, and let's just say, an out of the box idea really, in a pretty status quo or follow the leader industry, but to show the growth and show the story of the growth of that company through any one of many different lenses, which, look, when we launched the company, it was basically, me and a couple partners. Now we've got a team of 13, which means it's great. Less time for me with a camera in my face, more time I can have, like, more characters, if you will, kind of talking and telling the story of Ghost as it grows. For us, it's been about including people, and in a real way. When we say we listen to our fans, look, when Ghost first launched, and this is something I don't talk about often really anymore. When we first launched, I thought I was doing something really, really good. All of our formulas were 75% disclosed. We kind of kept back that 25%, which we felt was like the secret sauce, which was the IP. And as soon as we launched, all the fans on social media, on our YouTube, they said, "Dan, why aren't you 100% fully disclosed? What do you got? Are you guys hiding something? What's going on? Why not go full?" So guess what? On the very next product run, full disclosure across everything, we never looked back. Even to the point where we show the amount of, kind of the load and actual yield of how much protein, like for example, a WPI 90, whey protein isolate 90%, is actually yielding. And that was based in real time on fan feedback because of that channel, where it's not about promoting the products. Actually, look, if you watch our channel, there's very little supplement use and very little working out. It's a lot of office, a lot of travel, a lot of events like this going on there, because it's more about the story. But it's just an opportunity to listen. And whether or not that you're the owner of the company or whether you're a head of customer support, I think what the world today has shown, at least me personally, is people want to see what's going on. They want to be able to look under the hood.
How's it going, guys? I just had a couple quick questions. One for Brandon, mostly in terms of manufacturing. If you're selling supplements online, you're doing your research to pick the manufacturer, getting everything reformulated, and you have a dietary supplement expert, all that good stuff. A lot of it seems, is when you're talking to these manufacturing companies, is that you're talking to, a sales exec, but not really a, project manager or product manager there. So how do you combat against that in terms of, if I'm a project manager for my company that's getting these supplements formulated, I want to know every single step they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and so how do you combat to get that information from them?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question with everything that's going on. Unfortunately, you really have to lean into your co-man. You should, besides audits and things like that, I'm talking about a personal relationship, and that is exactly why I've grown a pretty large company with 0 salespeople, because of that problem right there. That's one of the major problems I exploited when I came into the industry. I originally just wanted to vertically integrate my Purist Labs brand. I wanted to become the manufacturer because it was a travesty when I went to my manufacturer and saw my products being made. I was providing the formula, so I understand your concern, but I didn't even have that concern, but I hadn't even visited, and then once I went, and this is 10 years ago before audits and things like that, I go up there and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. On the way back home in a 3-hour drive, I put together in my head the plan to open up my own 5,000 square foot spot and just get it done. But that was a side story there. But to your point there, dealing with people that you have a relationship with, that you trust, that you've been to lectures, that you've seen products they've formulated, that they can show you a historical path to success. Like, look, I can't guarantee you these are going to work and sell, but what you're looking for is, hey, I'm not going to jail if I sell this product, right? That's what you're leaning into us for. I don't have a blanket answer as far as all the other co-mans out there, but like for us, our customers really like they deal with me first of all. The first meeting when they come in is they deal with me, and then that trust is there and they see the knowledge is there, and then they look at our team. I have in-house legal counsel, in-house quality control, and I have Dr. Hector Lopez, one of the foremost people in the industry, on my council as well. So he's on my board. Anything I don't know, I just call him. So there's not a blanket kind of way. I don't know who you're using, but I would probably just say use me.
I'll look into it. I had one more quick question for Dan too. Did you see higher conversion data when you released more of the ingredients? Was there like a higher conversion rating in people getting those supplements?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more information that you give the consumers today, I mean, knowledge is power. The more information you give them, the more in control they feel, the better they feel about their purchase. And if it doesn't incentivize the first purchase, it's definitely what's kind of keeping them there for the long run.
I think what you're doing is great. I mean, taking full responsibility for all the elements of your brand all the way up through quality control. That's what is the model of this industry. Not everybody does that, and that's what's going to keep you out of problems. So, good for you.
One quick thing, and I'm not an attorney, although sometimes I play one.
Yes. You've masqueraded as one quite often.
There you go. If you're a brand and you're making something with him, or anybody for that matter, you have a right to know what's in your product. Okay, as a label holder. So if they say I've got a secret sauce or I've got this special flavoring system I don't want to tell you, yeah. Poppycock. I mean, under FSMA 2012, Rick, tell me if I'm wrong, you have to be able to audit your supply chain back to source. And that includes all the stuff that's happening in the contract manufacturing. So if they're not going to tell you what they're putting in the product, they're like, hey, trust us, it's a good BCA formula, trust us, it's a good pre-workout, they're actually violating the law. And I make a beeline away from them and I go see someone like Brandon instead.
And I'll add to that too, that's a great point. They do need to provide that, but don't be mad if they redact the flavor SKUs or redact certain flavor company information, just because from a CM standpoint, we might spend $14,000 worth of man hours working on this concept project for somebody. If it doesn't launch or it doesn't do well, we're kind of, pinged there, so that kind of plays into it too. So as far as like the flavor profile, if say he comes to me, we got a great relationship, and then he wants to take this awesome product once it hits and save a nickel, move into another co-man, that's the only place where that gets sticky, and I normally work it out on a customer basis, and the agreement normally is, that's cool, you have to give me my full formula. Hell, the minute I accept your order, you get a full, you get every single thing that comes in your product, a full panel spit out immediately. But maybe just look into that a little bit and ask them, look, just keep your flavor SKU information, but I need every single thing, like he said, all the way down to the yields, the percentages, the weights, everything should match up. And I will tell you this, 9 out of 10 people that come to me, their label's wrong and their formula's wrong. I've been in business for 10 years. I do a lot of manufacturing. 9 out of 10 to this day that walk in my office, their shit's wrong.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Absolutely.
I was being generous. It's crazy.
All wrong, man.
Yeah.
All wrong.
We see that
It's problem.
tremendously.
It's
in
problem.
our firm.
It really is.
Just contract manufacturers who give labels and it's all wrong. It's a
They just
mess.
spit it out, and it's
It
just
is a
like, this
mess.
isn't even what you.
Bruce, you use the word right. I think it's the responsibility. It's your brand. If something happens to your brand, then that's the problem. It's not his problem.
Right.
Your brand's going to be talking to Rick to solve it. So, you got to take responsibility for everything.
Hi guys, kind of an open question. For the sports nutrition category, what would you say is maybe the current ratio for online sales versus bricks and mortar traditional sales?
I think, I'll jump in there first. I think that's a hugely personal question depending on the brand. Ghost is nationally distributed in the States, 4,600 GNC locations, and then we've got our direct-to-consumer. We're not on Amazon, we're not on bottom.com, we're not even Vitamin Shop at this point. Our brick and mortar to digital ratio is a lot closer than you think. But I think some of the legacy brands, they might not have that luxury, right? And I think that furthermore, there might be some of the legacy brands that are doing exceedingly well in Amazon, and that might kind of start to skew things a little bit. But it really, really does depend brand over brand, in my opinion.
Yeah, if we go like industry wide, is, you know, if you look at all kind of like consumer packaged goods or fast moving consumer goods, it's actually very low. It's actually a lot lower than what most people think. I think it's somewhere around like 2%. But if you move into like just consumer packaged goods that are kind of functional in the sense, I think it goes upwards of like closer to like 10%. But I think that if you're getting more to sports nutrition, I think because of the like, you're getting more and more closer to like people that are younger consumers generally. I think there's somewhere around 20% is where people are at right now on direct or not on e-commerce to still retail. So we talk a lot about like digital and retail, and it's growing extremely fast now. They're expecting that to double in the next 5 years. So that's, you know, you kind of have to use it where you're at right now to kind of get market share and kind of position yourself correctly, because it might not be the biggest part of your pie right now, but it will be in the future.
I just wanted to speak to the manufacturing situation. As a small startup, my first manufacturing experience was a nightmare. And so I want to empower everybody here. We're very big on no fillers and no flow agents and keeping it completely pure. We are kind of a legacy company in the making, and I think that, you know, born from a story and from science, which many are. And so I wanted to empower the person who asked and all of you to know that every single batch that we manufacture that comes in from our manufacturer is sent out to an independent lab to validate everything that's in it and that it is pure, as we've been told, to the degree that we actually inspect the source of where the nutrient came from in the manufacturing process. So I would highly suggest asking your manufacturer those things. If they're not willing to give it to you, they're not your right manufacturer.
Just remember one thing, okay? Like, I get into brokerage situations where people like you say, I want to make this product, it's got to be like this, and I bring it to a manufacturer, it can't be done. I mean, some of the things you want, you have to have silica or calcium silicate or something like that, or it won't flow through the machinery because it gets hot and it comes upon. So this sometimes I'd say, have realistic expectations. If you want to go into something and say, I want it to be 100%, we'll say, all natural or organic, that's another thing we can talk about, it's a big topic. USDA, what they consider to be organic, there's like three different definitions of that, okay? Just be realistic. Sometimes some of the things you might want to make, this can't be done. I mean, I've run into that a couple of times, especially with solid dose products. Sometimes, you know, trying to encapsulate stuff, going through an automated encapsulator, it just gets so hot, the actual ingredients, that the lines get bogged up when you're done. I mean, you can't run it. He'd probably know better than I would.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I have several customers that have the same goals as you, and sometimes we go on a product-by-product basis. I hear your goal, and I say, I'll get after it, and I'll do the best I can, and then we do a bench top, and we see if that will work, and he's correct. Some formulas don't flow. Some of them that are more hygroscopic, you know, they're absorbing that moisture, and when you get heat and friction going in the machines, they gum up and clump up. Or sometimes it requires my machine operator to bust down every hour and clean the parts down. And maybe I'm okay with that if I'm making the kind of margin, and you're okay with it passing all day. Sometimes he's right in, like sometimes it won't work, but we can try, but he's right. Like sometimes it's just like, this may not flavor, it may not be water soluble, it may not be able to encapsulate, but maybe we can find another avenue to get it into your consumer's mouth, maybe.
And doesn't that sometimes have to do with the equipment that's used for the manufacturing process in terms of, you know, whether it's antiquated or whether it's newer technology? We've been lucky. We've actually been able to find a way to do ours without fillers and flow agents, but we were told repeatedly by people who that couldn't be done, and we're doing it. So, I mean, I respect your position, but I also think that if you want to be the best of the best, you have to do the due diligence of making sure you're going to be, and that is finding more than one opinion about how to manufacture your product sometimes.
Love the presentation regarding labeling and the legalities around it. My name's John Marshall. I'm with BioFortis Clinical Research. What role do you see clinical trials playing in those arenas?
Oh, right. I mean, I used to work for a CRO, by the way. Actually, several. I worked for ParXL, which is a pretty big one, and Avantech, which was a small one in Indianapolis. I'd love to see more manufacturers taking their vision. I mean, brands taking their vision, their ideas to a CRO, to even a university, and even doing, trials with animals if they don't want to pay for, human trials. The problem is they cost money. Okay, a human trial. I mean, I sponsored one on a product I have IP for. It's $125,000 out of my pocket to do a relatively small, study. The problem is if I don't have intellectual property protection for my formula or my product, and I do that study to validate it, these guys are going to copy me the second I publish the results, and it's not going to cost them anything. So they've got an advantage right out of the gate. Okay, the cost to make the product is going to be a whole lot less for them because I got to pick up the cost of sponsoring the trials. That said, okay, I agree 100%. We need more research, more clinical research in this industry. Okay, it's warranted and it's needed. I just wish we could find a better way to offset the intellectual property issues that you don't have in pharma, but with what you do have in dietary ingredients. Because pharmaceutical companies, drug companies, they're not spending money on a in-house study or with a CRO unless it's a protected product. If the ingredient is protected by 5 or 6 patents, they know that nobody can make it or copy them. So they don't mind doing it because they know that they're going to spend, the product's going to cost $500 or $600 a month, of some ridiculous price, right, when it hits the market. So they know they're going to get their money back. But for everyone up here, it's really rolling the dice. But that said, I mean, it definitely is something that I think we all of us can agree on that we'd like to see more of.
Rick, this is a question to you. What happens in a situation of a new food additive if it's not on FDA food list or doesn't have a GRAS, even self-approved, certification behind? What brands can do or expect from the supplier to provide some kind of a data or even qualification that it's safely to add it to a functional food product?
What can you ask from I guess, look, conducting as much due diligence to try to get as much specifics on this ingredient as you can, ask for a dossier on it before you include it in any product that you're going to make.
This would be for Dan or Eric, because I noticed on both of your labels and products you list natural and artificial flavors, and that's pretty unique for categories to list natural and artificial flavors. What do you see? Do you see an ongoing trend with that, or leaning towards a certain way, thinking about cost and formulation?
Well, I think the NNA flavors, a lot of times are used because of cost. For me in particular, I would go, completely artificial, but obviously it looks better on a label for NNA. And for natural, they are more expensive. They're going to raise the cost for me, if I'm being honest. I mean, that's the main reason.
For us, it's all just about hitting kind of the flavor goal. And the curve that we kind of design our flavors on is nothing to do with like a dietary supplement. For example, if we're partnering with Sour Patch Kids or we're partnering with Swedish Fish or like Warhead's Candies, guess what we're eating at the office or in the R&D lab all day, right? It's research at that point. But we're comparing it to the actual candy, and if you look at a lot of those candies all contain natural and artificial flavors, why wouldn't we do the same thing? There have been cases unintentionally where we've just achieved kind of the goal flavor. This is the case where we're about to launch a limited edition like holiday Snickerdoodle. It's naturally flavored. I didn't spec natural flavors. I didn't go to the lab that day saying I wanted it to be naturally flavored. That was just kind of the way, look, there's tens of thousands of a cinnamon flavor or a cookie flavor that are available from, thousands of different providers. I think it's all about finding the flavor system that works for you. And NNA, natural, to me, at least our customers have been agnostic, and as long as the flavor is great. Now, if you have a brand that's kind of predicated on natural, organic, more of that route, then obviously those customers are probably going to maybe look for a natural flavor, but that just hasn't really been something I think that we found important or we've made important for our customers.
And if I could add one thing, I agree in the aspect that none of my millennial customers have not complained about NNA flavors in any sense. The only real complaint would be artificial colors. The FD&C red Lake, that does draw some complaints. So I think artificial, the colors are more of a deterrent than the artificial flavors.
Brandon wants to jump in.
I would say from my standpoint, the largest issue is, I don't even really need it, artificial sweeteners. So do you want natural flavors, natural and artificial flavors? It's the sweetener that everybody cares about. Sucralose is the most widely used, but all of a sudden it's evil to your microbiome and all this, right? So I have a lot of sports customers, a lot of direct-to-consumer and Amazon. I kind of segment my business in 3 ways on the manufacturing side. So what I'm seeing is sports nutrition customers don't give a rip. It's got to taste good or they're not buying it. They've been using NNA forever. They don't care. They don't care if it's sucralose. They don't care. Everybody direct-to-consumer and everybody that at least I deal with on Amazon is if they had an NNA and, if they had let's get away from the flavoring on the sweeteners. They don't really care about that too much, but on the sweeteners, they're all going to stevia monk fruit, which by default makes them go to natural flavors because it kind of looks silly to have all natural flavors and then sucralose. But like if you can get away with it, cool. Like it's what your market, it's very personalized to your brand and your market. But like out of all of our customers, it's very distinct. Sports brand, sucralose. Amazon or D2C, just give them stevia and monk fruit because they're going to tell us to redo it. In 30 days, we're going to spend all this time on this badass tasting sucralose, product. They're going to get it in the board and everybody loves it. And a month later, we met again and we just think it really needs to be natural and everything needs to be this way. And then you redo everything. So we just start them off that way.
Good impression.
Sorry.
I think we could spend all day kind of pigeonholing or trying to really like typecast customers. And millennial, natural, hardcore women. Like at the end of the day, at least what I've found in Ghost's, experience about 2.5 years, make a good product. Right, and as I kind of said when we were kind of presenting, try to over-deliver every which way you can. It's not enough anymore to have a great formula. It's not enough anymore to have a great-looking brand. It's not enough to just have a flavor or feature one ingredient. You have to deliver in every aspect, and if you do that, the customers are going to come. Ghost developed a vegan protein, and guess what? We're using sucralose. Who said a vegan customer wants a naturally sweetened product? Why is that? Like, who said vegan customers only want chocolate and vanilla? We launched a peanut butter cereal milk flavored vegan protein that uses sucralose, and we can't keep it in stock, right? So I think you could sit all day and dissect customers down to the nth degree, but the most important thing is to build the best product that you can.
I have a quick question for you guys. We actually competed with the CBD workshop in the next room. So I thank you all guys for staying here with us and not going there. Where do you think, and we're kind of just putting our, forecast hats on, where do you think CBD will be 2 years from now in the sports nutrition category? I know it's a tough question because laws can change. We're not sure, but where do you think, where would you guess it might be going?
$2 billion bigger.
Okay.
It's, it's a quasi-illegal.
Anybody interested in that issue of CBD in cannabidiol in sports nutrition products? Okay.
It's a fascinating industry, obviously challenged by the legality of the ingredient, but and that's the central debate currently as far as CBD. I go back to Deshay and apply the stuff that I put on the screen. Is it a constituent of an herb? Yes. Has it been around in the food supply for thousands of years? Yes. People have been using the stuff for thousands of years. Have the chemicals in, marijuana extract or resin or oil changed in thousands of years? No. What's happening now is they're being standardized in different amounts and so forth. And GW Pharma came along and standardized Epidiolex, which is essentially 99% CBD with some entourage other cannabinoids attached to it. But that's a defined drug. Most of the CBD oils out there are 10% oils, and in no way does that 10% oil equate to the drug. Mention of people want to market it as cannabidiol and CBD. Well, guess what's in parentheses behind the naming convention for Epidiolex? Cannabidiol and CBD. So those are drugs, according to the FDA now. And if our industry wants to legalize the use of hemp oil in dietary supplements, please call it hemp oil. CBD, understand why we want to market that, but that's a drug. So let's call it hemp oil. Let's figure out a way to use cannabinoid profile to standardize the stuff in a reasonable way. And let's, give the drug industry their room to sell and market their standardized drugs, and let DSHEA be applied the way it should be to make these things legal dietary supplements. That's my argument.
I think it's gonna be dead, and I have precedent on my side. GHB was a quasi-dietary ingredient for a long time. Ostensibly, it raised growth hormone levels. It really wasn't.
Back in the 80s, you could get it in a health food store.
Yeah, it was something people really took recreationally to get high. But it was sold in every dietary supplement store. It's a Schedule 1 now. However, a pharmaceutical company made a salt of it, sodium oxybutate. Right, and it's a drug. So that's what's going to happen with CBD. I mean, once the pharmaceutical companies find a way to patent it, okay, and make money from it, you think they're going to tolerate us selling it? It's dead.
But is that CBD isolate or full spectrum hemp oil?
It's not going to matter.
How could it not?
Because they're going to say CBD.
Because that's CBD isolate, and then full spectrum hemp oil extracted with a full terpene profile.
But if the full spectrum hemp oil, if it has any part of that one isomer, that's how you're going to get zapped. You have to find a way to pull it out.
I found that the number one question that I get asked at all of these trade shows is about CBD. You know, I want to put CBD in my product. Everybody wants to jump on that.
I don't know.
So, any other questions? Comments? Snide remarks?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.